I mean, what were the toughest conditions that you played in as a player, and how do these compare comparatively?
Yeah, I think the subcontinent stands out as the hardest place to bowl as a seamer. Um, you know, the last tour of Pakistan where we won 3-0, the pitches seemed pretty flat.
But
Um,
much cooler because it was in
it was
December.
much cooler, yeah. So again, the heat obviously adds to that. But I think it's not something that should really affect you as a bowler. If you're fit enough, then you should be able to cope with it. The captains are good; they generally bowl you in short spells, so you sort of know what to expect. I think the hardest thing is trying to get something out of the wicket and create chances. So yeah, I think for me, Pakistan's right up there with one of the hardest places to play.
Chat about the fitness then required. You obviously need a deep level of fitness to do the job here. Just give our viewers a sense of what that entails. First of all, is it a one size fits all? You know, are all the fast bowlers here going through the same programs in the build up to a series like this or at home, or are they tailored very differently? Because bowlers come in all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very individual, the training regime. I think certainly over the last 20 years, that's changed a lot. You know, when I first started, the batters and bowlers did exactly the same gym programs, which was, probably not the right thing to do. So now it's changed so much. There's so much more um, science that goes into it to actually learn about a person's body, to learn about what they need as an individual. So yeah, bowlers will have very individual plans, and each guy, as you said, everyone's so different, and certain people need strengthening in certain areas, and others will be different. So I think it's good that we've come that far.
Am I right in thinking that you turned to a kind of a greater insight into science and fitness quite late in your career? Maybe, you know, when you turned 30.
Yeah, I think once I got into my 30s, I was always thinking about how long can I play for, how long can I sort of prolong my career for, and I think I thought the best way to do that was to stay fit because everyone, the messaging around when as you get older, certainly as a bowler, is that everything starts to hurt more, you start to slow down. So that was something I was really conscious of. So I wanted to, I worked on my running technique, I worked on my speed, endurance, strength, tried to make sure that I was in as good a shape as I could be, and found that I might have worked a little bit harder as I got older, but certainly found that I didn't slow down as time went on.
And that running, you say it's a mixture of sprints and endurance. What would a 5K time be for Jimmy Anderson and his pomp?
I wasn't a massive 5K runner. I was more sort of on the speed side of things, but if I was going well, I'd be under 20 minutes. I mean, nothing special. So yeah, I've focused on more. So I think bowling fitness, trying to do a sort of, so that we did a lot of tempo runs, we call them. Like you do the run up, get your run up speed because of the GPS units. You know what that is, and then do 100 meters, and then you've got recovery and do sort of 6 of them like an over. Sort of build up that sort of endurance for it's sort of like for like for bowling.
And weights? I mean, people talk about, you know, not wanting to lose your arm speed. You're kind of quite lithe and whippy. So presumably those weights are quite light and high reps rather than heavy weights, or?
To be honest, I think again that's really individual. So I was someone who'd never really bulked up, as you can see. So I could do as heavy as weights as I possibly could, and I wouldn't really put any bulk on. I just feel like I'm getting stronger. And I think one of the important things for me was the flexibility side of it as well, trying to keep my hips flexible, my back and my shoulders, and make sure if they're still flexible, no matter what weights I do, then I felt like I was in a good place to bowl. But again, that's so different for many bowlers. Some guys like to feel a little bit bulkier up top. But again, I think legs are probably more important than upper body for bowlers because the strain that goes through them. So it's really important to keep them in shape as well.
And what about refueling, nutrition, and hydrating, particularly in a place like this?
Yeah, it's huge. I think that I always found it really hard to eat whilst bowling because you come off really sweaty, you're hot, and you don't necessarily feel like eating a big meal. So getting that fuel on board is really important. And obviously now we've got people here that can help with that. They know what to give us, if it's protein shakes or carb drinks or whatever it might be, just to get those calories back on board. And then for me, it was always at night, you try and eat as much as possible, try and recover. And then the next day, hopefully, probably not fully recovered, but ready to go again.
And ice baths are in the dressing room, I think. I mean, do they work? Do you believe in them? Is it just a way of cooling down? Does it aid recovery?
Well, again, that's something that's sort of coming in and out of fashion, I guess. Like when I started, it was really fashionable, and then sort of they'd disappear for a bit, and then they'd come back. And now they're there if you want them. And again, it's individual. Like if you want to get in it, if you feel like it helps you recover, then go for it. But if not, then there's other ways of recovering. We've got plenty of guys to give you massages or these like leg recovery pump things that apparently flush out the lactic or whatever. So there's loads of ways you can go about your recovery. It's just, again, that comes with experience, though. For you how, through playing and recovering and what works.
And therefore, how impressed were you with England's attack in the first Test match? Because you say a lot of these things come with experience, but of course it was Bryden Carse's first Test match. It was Gus Atkinson's first Test match abroad.
Yeah, I was really impressed the way they went about it. I thought they dealt with that first innings really well, because it's never easy when you're in this heat to be out there for 150 overs. But then what's really important is getting that break. And we don't always get that break because we bat we score so quickly. But that was massive for us. That allowed us to properly recover that 2 days that we didn't bowl for. And then we saw when we came to bowl in that second innings that we looked. I thought all three seamers looked really strong, hit the pitch really hard. So I think that's probably the biggest difference. And it is a great learner for Gus and Bryden in particular. And Chris Wilkes hasn't played much in these conditions. So again, I thought all three of them did a great job. And it will just, I think, giving them confidence to be able to bowl in these conditions and win a game from that situation will definitely give them confidence going forward.
What do you like about Bryden Carse in particular? And I know that I think he came out to bowl at England, didn't he, in a pre-Ashes kind of camp or net period, and that you like what you saw there, and you thought he's a potential for a bowler to do well in Australia in particular.
Yeah, definitely. I think he may well have stuck around that squad if he hadn't have got injured during that tour. But I think what the guys see with him is, he talked to guys in the nets, and he bowls 90 miles an hour, but he feels quicker because he's got a snap, sort of a pause at the crease and then a good snap, hits the deck hard, he's accurate. I thought when he was asked to bowl bouncers in that last game, he did a brilliant job. And he's got skills as well. So I think he's got all the attributes there to do well in Australia. And it's good now that he's around the group, so he can hopefully build up some experience before that.
Ask about Chris Wilkes. I mean, one assumes as bowling coach, it's a little bit easier with the likes of Atkinson and Carse because they're younger, more inexperienced, and therefore you can pass on all that knowledge. Chris Wilkes is 35. He's been around a long time. He's obviously been an outstanding cricketer for a long period of time. But there is this discrepancy between home and away. A, how do you explain that? And B, as a coach now, do you just leave him alone and think, well, he's kind of 35, he knows it all? Or are you trying to impart some knowledge still to him?
Well, I think it's important not to sort of force yourself on people in that situation. For me, I always wanted to learn, whether it was from a younger bowler or whether it's from a coach. And me and Chris have known each other for a long time, so we're good mates. And I think it was something that we did actually chat towards the end of the summer about looking ahead to. We've got Pakistan and New Zealand in this winter. How will he? What will help him be successful in those sorts of conditions? So there's a few little things that we've tried to work on to help him with that. And I think that he finds it exciting. I think he's someone who wants to improve. He knows what his record's like away from home, but I think for us, he's a really important player because he is that experienced bowler. You need that in an attack, I think, wherever you go, especially if you've got the likes of Bryden playing his first game. Gus Atkinson's only played a handful of games as well. So I think going forward, if he continues to look to improve, which he will, I'm sure play a big part in our success.
Final question, if I may. I mean, when Pakistan were getting 550, it didn't look pretty out there, and one assumes you were resting quite easily in the dressing room. But at the end of the game, when you win a game like that, was there a small part of you that still missed that feeling of actually the satisfaction that comes from a real hard grind of winning a 5-day game like that?
Yeah, definitely miss that. And a few people said, "I bet you're glad you're not bowling out there." But actually, that is what I loved about Test cricket, is playing in foreign conditions when it's really tough. That's what gives you the most satisfaction, because it's, you know, with a Duke ball in England in May, it's very different, and you feel a little bit more comfortable in those conditions. But here, where you're not really expected to do well, it is hard, and I think that is when you do get the most satisfaction. And you know, just seeing the smiles on the lads' faces in the dressing room is great. You know, they having known that feeling a few times. That I think it would. I just think the whole week will help us going forward. You know, it's all well and good we often say we believe we can win from any position, but actually doing that makes a massive difference. So it was a great week.